All right, everybody, before we dive into today's episode, we are brought to you by two headline sponsors, the first one being Elite Sweets. Elite Sweets is redefining the way we think about sweets with their Elite Donuts. The Elite Donut is a better-for-you donut that is packed with 13 grams of protein. They're gluten-free, keto-friendly, and contain only 1 gram of sugar. These have become a staple in our house as we look to have a healthy diet and want products that if we do feel like having that sweet or, having a cheat meal or just a cheat snack, something that's not going to completely ruin our diet. So Elite Sweets have become that. It's a donut. It tastes delicious. It tastes just like those shitty donuts that you're used to growing up, except these ones are high in protein, gluten-free. They're keto-friendly for all you keto dieters out there. And most importantly, in my mind, they only contain 1 gram of sugar. So get yours today at EliteDonut.com or on Amazon. If you use code ShaneWhite30 at checkout, you'll get 30% off your order. And that code works on both Amazon and EliteDonut.com. Again, that code is ShaneWhite30, all one word, and you'll get 30% off your order. Today's episode is also brought to you by routine. When we sleep, we lose between a pound and a pound and a half of water, mostly just from sweating while you sleep, which is something I did not know before I started working with the guys over at Routine. They've come up with a product that they call Morning Routine. It's a single-serve packet that I take every morning, and it contains half an organic lemon, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and most importantly, no sugar. Most people wake up, they grab that cup of coffee first thing in the morning. What most people don't realize is if you wake up dehydrated, which is easy to do when you wake up from a long night's sleep, your body sweats and expels a lot of vapors while you're sleeping. Instead of grabbing that cup of coffee, try grabbing a morning routine packet. Each of these, as I mentioned, is made up of all these great ingredients that helps rehydrate you in the morning, get your metabolism going once again. I just take one of these little single-serve packets, tear one open, throw it into, just a shaker bottle or 20 ounces of water, shake it up, and drink it first thing in the morning. You feel a difference. You really do feel hydrated again. You can tell the difference when you use the product and then go off of it again, the difference you feel first thing in the morning. Routine, trusted ingredients, made convenient. You can go to yourroutine.com and use code ShaneWhite30. Again, ShaneWhite30, same coupon code as the last brand, Elite Sweets. If you use code ShaneWhite30 at checkout on yourroutine.com, you can get 30% off your first order. All right, everybody. I have a great guest coming up next, and I will talk to you in just a second. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. I'm pumped today to have Cody Wittick from Kynship on the podcast. Cody, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, Shane? How's it going?
It's going well, man. Pleasure having you on. I know we've had one conversation before this and loved it, so I'm pumped to learn more about what you do, man. For everyone listening who doesn't know you or doesn't know what Kynship is, would you mind giving everyone just a quick elevator speech pitch, whatever you want to call it, of the quick pitch. Rundown? Yeah, not a pitch, just a little overview of what Kynship is.
Yeah, we're an influence marketing agency, and I used to always say located in Orange County, California, but that was hasn't been the case since 2020. So,
right.
We're fully remote. I am in Orange County, California, but yeah, we're influence marketing agency servicing D2C e-commerce brands with a physical product. So pretty much a lot of people. And yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. We've been around for 4 or so years.
Oh, it's been a pretty long time. I didn't realize it'd been that long. And so for people listening who don't know what influencer marketing is, can you give everyone the dumbed down version of what that is?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm talking to my extended family now.
That's
they're like,
exactly
what do you do?
This is.
Yeah, why is that always the case? What do you do? I'm in marketing.
Yeah, what do you do? What does that mean?
No idea what that means.
When I try to explain to people selling stuff on Amazon and helping brands, it's talking way over their head half the time. I'm like, it's really not that complicated. It's just all the stuff you buy. You know what I mean?
At least people have heard of Amazon, though.
That's fair.
I would hope. Influencer marketing. I mean, traditional probably definition is that this is not what we do, but it's utilizing influencers or people with social media following to take advantage of their audience. You'll notice like that's a very transactional language, but usually you're talking about people with a social media following, probably 5 to 10,000 and above. There's different tiers of influencers too, but
okay, yeah.
You're getting someone to promote a product or service on their social media platforms. That's like kind of like the most basic version of influencer marketing, because they have a highly engaged audience. So you're trying to work with those people. I mean, it'd probably be helpful to give like context to influencer marketing. Like that term didn't really come around until like 2014, 2015, kind of with the rise of Instagram. So like Instagram kind of made influencer marketing, that term, like that wasn't even a search term until then.
Oh, really? I was going to say, because before Instagram, there wasn't really a platform that people did influencer marketing on, was there? Because Facebook wasn't really like that. You didn't like follow people that were famous. Well,
you did. I just don't think they didn't call it influencer marketing. It was called, working with celebrity talent or pop stars or like these different things like that. I think the rise of social media gave rise to the term what is now called influencer marketing. Before then, it was, product placement or, working with celebrities or talent or, whatever the case may be. But you're also trying to work with them on platforms like TV or commercials or newspaper, magazines, like all these different things, it just wasn't. And maybe even like go back to early 2000s with like bloggers on, promoting things on their individual blogs or websites. But no one called it influencer marketing back then.
Got it. Yeah. Because did blogging then turn into what is a lot of social media? Like, is that still a thing, I guess? Like, is blogging as big of a thing in your world as it used to be?
Yeah. I mean, we don't really play in that world much. Yeah. But I would imagine it is. I mean, with the whole like SEO play and things of that nature, it's definitely backlinks and all that stuff. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money through that. So
sure. Yeah, definitely. So for everyone listening too, obviously you've done other jobs before starting Kynship. Would you mind giving everyone a little bit of rundown of just the beginning of your career? Because I think it's a really cool story from what you told me last time.
Yeah, you gave me too much credit. It was really only one job. I worked, out of college. I went on a year-long mission trip, came home, and was wondering what the heck to do, and stumbled upon a brand called Kalo, which most people think is pronounced Quelo.
Yeah, I'm wearing mine this time. Yeah.
Yep, the silicone wedding ring industry. Basically, a family friend that our families kind of grew up together had started it. I came home. It was kind of on the precipice of like booming. In that same year, they went from like 0 to 40 employees. I was like in the teens somewhere, and I was basically, I started on just like the lowest level possible, but just because I kind of got grandfathered in, I was quickly like able to get on the marketing team. And I just started out as like the product seeding guy, which is, I'd never heard of that term, but, the term literally just meant sending out free products. And I was learning under a guy named Jordan Palmer, has a name for himself today in the NFL world. He's like a quarterback guru. He played in the NFL. His brother was Carson Palmer, who played in the league for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So I was learning under him, and he was just basically tasking me like, hey, I know NFL. I'm dialed in there. I'm going to know everyone on every team, or at least know someone on every team. You got to get it into everybody's hands in every other sport, like these different categories. So that became my first job, which was basically like, okay, start DMing minor league baseball players, major league baseball players, like NBA guys, firefighters, like just all these different categories, mommy bloggers, a wedding ring, obviously the use case is endless. So we were getting into CrossFit heavy into that time. So that was like a huge task of mine. But that was really my only role, was like make connections, offer to send them the product, get their size, address, information, and send it out, and just do this all day long.
Wow. So you guys just had a really big push to try to just get product in hand.
Yeah.
This sounds like, right?
Well, also too, it was just like, it was a novel product, right? Like no one had ever seen a freaking rubber wedding ring, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure the cost was low, right? Like I can't imagine it cost a ton to just give out free product.
Yeah. No.
ROI's there.
We never had a budget for seeding. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably kind of fun, wasn't it? Because I mean, you were reaching out to some pretty interesting people, and I'm sure having some dialogue, whether it was them or their
super people. Super fun. And too, I played college basketball, and so it was kind of just one of those things where I felt like I was still able to kind of have that locker room feel of just like, hey, I'm just shooting the shit with these guys, and I just get to hit them up and offer free products. So of course I'm their favorite person. Like I'm not asking for anything.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to say like, hey, can you post 7 times? And we're just really interested in you. And there's all these negotiations. It's just like, hey, here's the Kalo guy. So that kind of rode for the next year or so. And then pretty quick, Jordan was getting involved in other things, didn't have the time to run really like the influence marketing program. So in the meantime, he was trying to raise me up to do everything at Kalo. And so over the course of time, it began to be where I was trying to do the influence marketing program and doing it and launching it for every category while still continuing to seed, create relationships. But then it turned into, fast forward, I was, negotiating long-term contracts with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and getting the ring on Steph Curry and LeBron and all these different, huge names, everything in between. But, you could say I was a very busy person.
I mean, that's pretty wild, though. Just get thrown into that. So you got the rings on people's hands, and then obviously they must have loved it and reached back out. We're like, hey, we should do a bigger deal together. Is that kind of how that works?
Or I would follow up. I mean, they would ask for more product because they would lose it in their locker room when they would travel, or just stuff like that. And then pretty soon it became, I'm not DMing them on Kalo Instagram. I'm just texting all these people now. Oh wow, which was like even better, because I was like the gatekeeper to if they wanted to work with Kalo. But that was our philosophy too. It was just like, man, get the product into their hands, no matter who they are, how big they are. We need them to like love the product. And what I come to find out too is just it led to way, way cheaper deals as well.
Did it really?
I don't know that like as far as like a first touch point, but just through experience dealing with agents too, you're not like, hey, Dale Jr.'s agent, we're just this random watch brand that you've never heard of. We want to like work with you. Okay, it's $1 million. Versus like Dale's going to the agent and saying, hey, I want to work with these guys. Like, I love this product. You're just going to get cheaper rates. It just makes sense, right? So.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's probably got all the pull, right? He's like, yeah, just make a deal with them that makes sense. Did you? Were you actually like texting like the Dale Earnhardts of the world, making like deals on what this would cost?
Well, I wasn't texting Dale specifically, but his agent and stuff like that. It helps. But a lot of these too, like these longer term contracts, like end up being, I was seeding Dale and his agent for a year or so before we ever started having negotiations.
It's wild.
So they're just a huge fan by that point. So
and how would a deal like that work? Like, I mean, there's got to be a dollar that makes sense for Kalo. And then are you guys trying to figure out like an ROI of like, what if we pay this guy X amount of dollars, how much are we going to assume he's going to bring in sales type of thing? Is it just, you're just kind of making some guesstimates and trying to figure out if it makes sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, on a deal like that, it's multifaceted. It's not just like, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars for these amount of posts. We're going to give you a discount code and call it a day. Yeah. It was like a half-day photo shoot. It was an appearance. It was whitelisting access and usage rights. And I mean, someone like that who's like American icon. Like his signature and image and likeness is like pretty penny. So like we were using him to get into retail partnerships like Lowe's and Home Depot and REI, of course. So we can put his image on end caps on an aisle and stuff like that. Like all these different things. There's so many convoluted, but we actually know total investment and the return was a 2.4 on that investment.
Okay.
So
wow.
And
so it made sense.
Yeah, no, it was. And then on a deal like that, that's honestly breaking even is good.
Sure. I'm sure. Especially with someone with that kind of likeness.
Yeah. So, I mean,
the cool thing is with that kind of product too, I would assume, sorry not to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
You know, I've had these things last a while, at least. I work out in mine every day, but this is only like my third one. And I've had these since I got married. So 2017. So I've had 2 or 3 in 5 years, but there's no reason for me not to keep buying them.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I love them.
Totally.
They're nice to have. It's like you feel like you probably get, you know, as long as people are staying married, you're going to have customers for a long time, probably.
That is the thing. So keep them married. But,
yep.
Yeah. And Dale had his own like ring launch too. So he had like his own design on a ring as well. So that was kind of part of it. His retail sales were part of it, but all in, 2.4.
That's wild. Very cool. So that how long were you in that role for?
4 years, 4 to 5 years.
Okay. So you were there for probably a lot of the major growth too. Yeah.
I mean, they got up to 40 million at its peak. And then I was a little bit on the dip down. That's when I was starting to think about exiting leaving.
Yeah.
Just
because a lot of competition came in, right? I remember
competition and I mean, I won't speak to it just because I wasn't behind the scenes, but I can only guess just some of the decisions that were made that brought the company down. But they did sell, and like right after I left. So
I didn't know that. Who did they sell to?
A company called Wind Group.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Good for them.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you're there for a while, and then where did the idea for Kynship come about while you're, you know, dealing with all these celebrities trying to sell wedding rings?
I would say I started just getting restless I felt capped at Kalo, and so I was just like, okay, do I want to go do influencer marketing for the Stances of the world or Nikes or like just like these bigger name brands and use my experience? And then someone kind of dropped an idea on my lap to kind of just basically say, I think you should start your own influence marketing agency. And I just, that thought never even came through my mind actually. So I'd like to say like, oh my gosh, I've have a dream of being an entrepreneur for 4 years. And I always knew I would start my own business.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to people like that all the time, but that was just not me for whatever reason. I always was like a leader and stuff, but I just never associated with the word entrepreneur or like starting my own business. So it prompted from someone else. And I actually kind of laughed in his face. So I was like, no, like that ain't.
Oh, really? You told him it was a bad idea or no?
I didn't say it was a bad idea, but I just kind of maybe laughed out of my own awkwardness or just like lack of confidence and like being able to do it. But I ended up, I mean, this is a huge thing in business. I just was able to partner with my business partner now. And yeah, we partnered up. We actually had a third business partner at the time. We all partnered up together, and yeah, this idea just kind of caught fire. And the more I prayed about it, the more I just felt like, man, this is a no-brainer. So my business partner came from Common Thread Collective. Our third business partner at the time used to work with me at Kalo, on the marketing team, and so we launched, and so I was just like, all right, yeah, let's run it. So it was 4 months into my marriage. I was telling my now wife and being like, hey, I'm gonna quit my job and we're gonna start a company. But she was incredibly encouraging and super supportive and stuff like that, which was good. It made me feel a lot better.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it for sure, man. I've been through that. That's an important piece of the puzzle. When you guys jumped, were you the type of people who had some crazy game plan before you started, or did you kind of just start and figured it out as you went?
We had an idea. I mean, we did the whole like create a business plan. Here's our ethos and brand story, and like here, like we picked a name and we went through exercises and stuff like that, and all that was super fun. But honestly, I feel like for people starting businesses, you're never gonna, like, experience is the best teacher. You're just never gonna know until you just start. Like, start, iterate later, just get going, try stuff. Which is like, I think I heard the same advice when I was starting, but it was just really hard to wrap my head around. You know, you're just like, okay, that sounds good, but in the meantime, like, we need to eat.
Yeah, there is something to be said about that, right? Of just like, you can sit forever and ideate and try to come up with the perfect plan. In reality, it's, you need to go, whatever it is you're selling, whether it's a service or a product, you need to go see if it'll actually sell.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I would say like the first year it was a lot of that. It was like a lot of like, throw stuff on a wall and see what sticks, see what people want. And I would say, honestly, probably a year and a half in, we didn't really find it until that point where we was like, okay, we have something here. Like, we got some momentum. Now we just need to make it better, iterate, find different things to make it more efficient. I mean, we're still doing that to a T. So,
and for you back then, did you go cold turkey and quit your job, or did you kind of keep your job and do this on the side, or how did you finance all of this in the beginning?
We did have a small, like, when I say small, I mean very small, like seed round. It's it's even like probably too much of a compliment to call it that.
It's like a friends and family donation.
Yeah, you could say that. And so that gave us a little bit of runway of the first couple months. And I also was like in the process of exiting Kalo.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was like a month where I was like doing both, but it wasn't like the do both for a year and do this on the side type of thing. It was kind of just like, we need to all be in. And the other two were fully started. So it was kind of just waiting on me to get full time.
So all three of you quit your full-time jobs to get this off the ground. That's a lot of, this is jumping right in. I love it.
Yeah. Which, reading Adam Grant lately, apparently that's not the best thing to do.
Well, and why do you say that? I've never read any of his stuff.
I guess based on like data, like he mentions the people that started Warby Parker.
Okay.
I believe, I could be wrong, but they were working their other jobs within like the first year while they were starting getting Warby Parker off the ground. But like the common narrative is like, you're not going to be successful until you quit your other thing and just go all in on it.
Right.
But it's actually not the case, apparently, to a lot of other startups that end up being huge companies.
Interesting.
So,
it's interesting. I mean, it's probably depends on your stage of life too, right? I mean,
totally. Yeah.
I think we've all heard a million stories about a college dropout who's probably not married or any kids. Not that it's easier, but it's, you can always go back to the job and you're not really risking a whole lot. It's tougher and tougher, I think, as you get later on in life. I know someone told me that I did like an entrepreneurship component of my college degree, my undergrad degree. And I remember someone and one of my professors explaining that and trying to like seed that to people of like, you know, just so you know, when you get out of here, like the next 8 years is probably going to be like the highest likelihood that you'll take the risk. Yeah. And he went through this whole like, you know, risk analysis thing. And I remember being like, oh, it's, you know, 30, that's forever away. It's like it's like 2 lifetimes from now, you know, when you're like 21 or 20 in college. It's funny though, it flies by and then you're like, shit, I'm married. We're about to have a kid. We have a house, a dog. Like, yeah, how can I risk, you know, quitting my job? It's tough. It's tough, but good for you guys. I mean, that's how it starts, right? You got to just make the jump, make the leap. What was the first few months like? I mean, you're talking about ideating and getting all this together, but did you guys get any early clients that kind of took a risk on you guys and kind of helped you guys prove this out early on, or how was getting the first few clients? So
the agency that we had an agency. It wasn't like a family and friends. We had an agency that like seed funded us.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
They ended up being like a little bit of a give us our first couple of clients, give us our trial run, stuff like that.
Okay.
So that kind of got our feet wet for the first couple of months to able to just do the thing. And then we were kind of, for lack of a better phrase, off the nip. And we were quickly on our own. So we were just trying to, hustle, kill what you eat. Or eat what you kill.
Yeah. Very cool. So that's interesting though. Was it an agency in the same space, or was it just someone you guys knew in a different kind of agency world?
Kind of both.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically the agency that my business partner had just come from. And so they were the ones that invested, and we were able to kind of keep that relationship close.
Oh, that's really cool. What a great, it's a good example of not burning any bridges, because you never know what you know who you're going to run into next, right? That's awesome.
That's true.
And then early on for you guys, I know the one thing I really appreciate, and for everyone, we'll add links to the show notes to get everyone to be able to check out Kynship. But one thing I just wanted to tell you right off the bat is I was really impressed with your website. Like, one thing, it's funny that me and my business partner always talk about is we just got ours up and off the ground, kind of what you were saying of just start. And so that was one of the things that we put low priority. Like, we're not going to put a lot of time and energy into it because that's just that we didn't prioritize that.
Yeah.
But you guys, I mean, your website is killer. Do you think, I feel like for your agency and your business, it's really important, because someone that comes to it, like, gets a really clear, quick understanding of what they're buying into. How much of just like your website and part of your brand story does this encompass? Like, was this a big focus up front? Because it seems like in the influencer marketing space, this is a pretty big, important part.
Yeah. Well, that's our third version of our website. So what you see today, I honestly forget what our first website looks like. But I appreciate the compliment. We definitely, we redid our website about last year. But the website, I'm trying to get back in the brain of like first year. Man, honestly, what comes to mind is you're just trying to work networks, referrals, and people that know you, like you, and you can tell, hey, this is what I'm up to. We started this agency. This is what we're doing. Trying all the different vehicles. So I started posting a ton of content on Instagram, actually, LinkedIn, and then we found Twitter, and Twitter became like our number one source of leads. So at that point, we're just kind of like, all right, well, let's.
And this is for brands, like brands finding you,
right? Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Or just kind of people working at brands, whether that be the CEO or CMO or head of growth, that type of thing.
So what for you guys? I'm just super curious. What kind of content were you guys posting that drew that attention?
Literally just influence marketing best practices and our recommendations, our process, what we're doing. We're just explicitly clear on this is exactly what we're doing. Give them all the steps to do it and copy it, and then they would still want us to do it. So
it's who I feel like is that a Gary Vee thing? Didn't he coin that exact same thing too? Like, just give for free, and people will then look at you as someone who obviously knows what the hell they're doing. So like, give them the keys versus just trying to copy them. That's really cool though. Good for you guys.
I'm sure there's people in there that, thank you. I'm sure there's people in there that, actually do it. They like take it and they're like, thanks, and then do it for themselves. But that's great too. So it's helping everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, even if there are, that's, did that feel like a risk at all when you guys first started posting that stuff? Did you ever think like, oh, people are just going to steal our stuff and not hire us? Was that ever a thought?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's still kind of a thought sometimes. You're just like, when you put something out so public on social media and just basically like give them the blueprint, it's hard not to be like, not to have that insight of, it would just be safer if I hoard this, and you're only going to find it if we do it for you.
Yes.
So that temptation's always there. I'm not going to lie, but we've just seen time and time again, giving people the keys, like what you're saying, that it leads to business. It's not everyone that likes a tweet, obviously, but
sure.
People are consuming it. So
yeah, no, that's really, really cool. So you guys have been running Kynship for how long again? Remind me. It's been
4 years in January. So almost 4 years in almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. What has there been? If you think about over the last 4 years, and I'm sure it's hard to remember all of them. I'm sure you've worked with lots of different clients and have had lots of good and bad. What would you say? Is there anything that stands out as just the biggest surprise when you think back to working at Kalo and then making the leap to now, like looking back and like, yeah, that was a hurdle or that was a challenge that you didn't foresee?
Yeah, honestly, what comes to mind, and this is going to maybe disappoint people, but I was just talking with someone the other day and he was asking me like, do you actually regret any business decision? And I was just saying, you actually don't, because even if it's a failure, it's like a great learning experience. And if it's a success, you can iterate it and make it even better. And there's feedback. So it's almost like it's a win-win on everything. Obviously, no one likes to fail. So it's like a shot to the ego.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mentioned in the first year, that third partner was no longer part of our company. So I would say that's a huge lesson. And that was a surprise. And a difficult thing, to like have a partner want to leave and also kind of be mutually aligned. And we're going to go our separate ways. This isn't really a fit for you. It's not a fit for us. It's not healthy for anybody. Let's part ways. And the good thing is pretty much mutual. Didn't anticipate that one in the first year of the company. So
it was within the first year too. So this wasn't like recent. This was right away. What was, without sharing any details you don't want to, what was kind of the lesson learned? And I guess the component of that you look back on, it was a surprise.
Know who you're partnering with. Yeah.
Okay.
Without going into detail, I think just being able to assess, is this person going to have my back? Is this person going to do everything in their power to make it successful? And if not,
yeah.
There's a lot of sports analogies, to be honest. Like just, I don't know if you played sports, but
I did.
Like just having some teammates that if they weren't pulling their end of the weight, like that's a huge problem. I can't trust this person. I can't like do all these different things. And so, and you can only do so much before, if you're like partnering with random people, that would just be a huge concern if you don't know their character and the way that's going to, but if you have some proof of concept, I would just make sure that it's the same page as much as possible before you jump in.
Got it. Yeah. And I'm curious, I've never started anything with 3 people. I'd be curious from your perspective, 3, like the business I'm in now, my co-founder, like we have really good yin and yang, and we've known that for a lot of years. So it seemed like a no-brainer when we came together that we thought we'd be good co-founders. Yeah. But I've always thought a third would be an interesting dynamic, especially if you're remote, because it's like, what if you're in touch with one more than the other? How do you I don't know. I always feel like with 3 people, it creates it's like another totally different dynamic of each person has a relationship with the other one that's different. And then you 3 have a relationship together that's unique. It's a totally different thing than 2, I would assume.
Yeah. And I know businesses that have even more than that, which is crazy to me. So I can't even imagine that.
And especially if everyone has an even share, right? If there's like not one person that's kind of got a little bit of the lead and they have the final say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it is like another marriage. So it is, you're working through stuff. You're having tough conversations all the time. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, that's a huge one. What's been the biggest like surprise, or what gets you up every morning that keeps you so excited? That you've been into it for almost 4 years. I'd be curious to know that as you've been owning a business for quite a long time now.
That's a good question. I think we're still small, even though we've been around for 4 years. So I think the growth potential and hitting goals is incredibly motivating. I think the ethos of what we're preaching as an agency, which is like generosity at the end of the day, is really powerful. It's like I mentioned in the very beginning, we do things a lot different than traditional influence marketing agencies.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that we're different and we have more competition now than we did even a couple of years ago or a year ago, that's always motivating. We got mouths to feed. That's motivating. Like there's a lot of motivating factors too. all of that's a melting pot. And I think, like, I mean, I'm sure you feel this too. Just the fact that it's mine and
Definitely.
you're responsible
Yeah.
for stewarding it is motivating in itself. You know, like, I shouldn't be doing this if I didn't feel like that pull to like, hey, this is mine and it's time to make it better, share it with the world, and get more clients and just stuff like that, you know?
Definitely. Yeah.
So.
No, love that answer. That's fantastic. No, seriously, that's great. So we kind of talked about what Kynship does. Obviously, I mean, that's really interesting hearing a little bit more about the 0 to 1 of getting it off the ground. For brands that could be listening today, what's a relationship look like with Kynship? And I know you said you guys like to think of yourselves as approaching this agency world that you live in very different than a lot of the other agencies. So just give everyone that's listening a little bit of a run through of exactly what that relationship looks like with you guys and why it's so different.
Yeah. I mean, the relationship looks like a typical agency client relationship where we're taking the labor and work off their plate and doing it for them, which in influencer marketing looks like IDing influencers, reaching out to them, getting them the product, all that labor that takes a lot of time, giving them reporting calls, all that stuff, which is standard. The way that we go about doing that is very different from the rest of the industry in the fact that we offer them the product or our client's product, no strings attached. So we don't actually ask for anything. So that came from my days at Kalo. And what you end up getting is a ton of content posted about you, even still without us even asking. And then we leverage that content within paid media. That's kind of like our two services. So we use influencer seeding mechanisms and campaigns to generate a ton of content, which gives the clients a lot of ad creative, which they're happy, and it's a huge pain point nowadays. And then we leverage that content on paid social. And then the long-term effect is like these brands actually have authentic, genuine community around them that they can continue to tap on. So
you guys essentially help the brands connect with these influencers, get free product in their hands, and then these influencers may or may not post about it. Is that kind of where the
may or may not, but we have certain expectations because we do it like we outreach to 500 influencers. We expect 100 at a minimum to get product, and we expect 30 to post 2 to 3 times out of that 100.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty good conversion odds. That's great.
Yeah. So we've just found these, you know, where you talk about iteration, that package used to start at 300 and then we added more influencers. We found this sweet spot of conversion rate and all these different things. And we see brands, you know, blow those metrics out of the water all the time, but that's kind of just the minimum expectations that we set and that we want to see. Like they're kind of the benchmark, and then anything above that is great. So yeah.
And then what this is something I've always been curious, because I feel like this world has changed so much, but let's just talk about maybe like Instagram first. What would be like influencer? Like, is there numbers of followers that you guys as an agency, like you must live by, like what denotes, you know, small influencer to a larger influencer?
Yeah.
And is that always changing and moving? It seems like a barometer that can never be the same.
Well, there's just like everybody has their own definition. So if you Google influencer marketing tiers of influence or tiers of following, like you're going to get 25 different definitions. We have our own.
Sure.
So like micros are between 5 and 150K. But
Oh, that's a pretty big range. 5K to 150K is micro.
Yeah. The reason it's broad is on purpose, just because we don't put a lot of stock in follower count. So.
Oh, okay. Sure. And why is that?
Because the number one value out of an influencer is their content ability.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's their number one value asset, which has nothing to do with their followers.
So even someone like me, you're saying if I had really good, valuable content that I create, but my follower count right now is really low, you're banking on the content's being good over time. That could totally change. Like
yeah, most of these micro influencers have built their following based off that content, not because of their clout. And so when we have proof of concept and we put the product in their hands, and if they enjoy the product, they're going to post similar content to that, so that we can repurpose. So, I mean, a simple way to think about it is just like a one stock versus a diversified portfolio. Like the one stock would be like their organic social channels. Like I'm really relying on Shane to promote that content to his audience. but that's a problem just because, not that it's not important, but it's really hard that content to be seen by a lot of different people.
Sure.
And convert ultimately sales, right?
Yeah.
The diversified portfolios, the brand has all these different channels that they can repurpose this content. So whether that be on Amazon, for example, or YouTube, or on Facebook ads, which is where we live. So email, like all these different marketing channels, like you have a marketing mix that you can place this content. So that's where you can kind of get that diversified portfolio effect.
Got it. Okay. Oh, that's super interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes a ton of sense though. I think I might have told you this story when we connected last time, but when I was at RX, we paid, I'm blanking on his name. Oh, Vinny from Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
When he was like really pushing the Keto Guido thing, because that was like, I remember when he was going ham on all that. We launched a nut butter product that we gave him, and I'm blanking now on the dollar value, but I remember getting told how much we were paying him for a single post, and about having a heart attack as the finance guy responsible for this, and being like, for one post. And I'll never forget, and I might butcher this number, but I remember it being really small. I want to say it was like 2 or 5 conversion total we got from this campaign. And this campaign was, tens of thousands of dollars to do a post.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like, it was bad. It was not good.
There are many stories like that, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure, which makes total sense why you do what you do. So that's really interesting. So do you guys, without getting into the weeds of the detail behind what you guys do, but I'd be curious, like, do you guys lean heavier to like micro influencers, or do you kind of have a mix of that and larger influencers, or like, where's the sweet spot for you guys?
Yeah, it's everyone in that range, 5 to 150K. That's who we outreach to.
Got it. Oh, so once they're above that, it's kind of a different ball game.
Yeah, we've just found, if someone has 151,000 followers, I'm sure it's no different, but it's just kind of like the pool of people we're picking from. We don't rep talent or anybody. We're just finding the right people on behalf of the brand. Got it.
So, and I'm assuming if you're someone on Instagram who's got hundreds, if not 1 million followers, is that like, do those people just leverage their accounts so differently from like a monetization perspective? Like it's just a totally different thing, right?
Yeah. And you have agents in there, like the person's not even managing their own account. It's just it's a whole different world.
Okay. Yeah, that makes tons of sense. I know I work with one brand that I don't want to get into the details of it, but I know we've struggled with, they work with someone who's got a pretty large following, and you can tell that it's like they're really not even in the account. You can tell it's not even their content. It's wild that some of these people get to that place, and that's just, it's like someone else is totally, it's a business. It's not even their Instagram anymore.
Oh yeah. 100%. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Very cool. So for you, you're 4 years in. Do you feel like you're at a place where, obviously, as you just mentioned, setting goals and continuing to try to grow the agency sounds like it's still it's obviously a huge thought for you every day. But where do you see the agency going? Do you have any other aspirations or things you're trying to attach yourselves onto over the next 1, 3, 5 years? It's a really hard question, I know, because that it's like, who knows? It's so far away, but we'd just be curious where your head's at.
Yeah, I think the way the world's going, the more that you can automate and make it done for you and done with you, and do it yourself. So like DFY, DWI, and DIY.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, I think that's a goal of ours, is to make it a DIY place where brands can come and emulate our process.
Oh, cool. So it's more like
themselves.
a platform.
Yeah. I hesitate saying that word just because there's so many freaking platforms out in influence marketing.
Sure.
But yeah, ways that we can automate the system and the process that we've built out for people.
Very cool. That one, I can imagine that just adds a scale that's nearly impossible when you have hands to keyboards, right? Like that's a totally different thing.
Right. Exactly.
Got it. Totally makes sense. How many people are on the team today?
We have like 10 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty good size.
Yeah, we're small.
Yeah. No, it's just
Small
interesting.
and nimble.
Yeah, especially when you're remote. Has it been a challenge for you guys just having a remote team?
I've kind of gotten used to it. It's weird at first, but yeah, there's still there's people that have been with us almost 2 years, and I've never met them in person.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. There's no need. I mean, there's no need unless you really want to, right?
Crazy.
It's crazy how we can get so much done remotely now.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole podcast has been remote. That's a good example. I think I've done like almost 200 episodes, and I've met like 3 or 4 of these people in person.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that's so rad, and at the same time, I wish we were in the same living room.
I know.
It just adds a different dynamic.
100%. I know.
But
I'm with you. There's you can get so much more done when you're remote. I feel like personally, like whether you want to spend it on work or not on work or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But there is a component. I mean, I think you and I talked about it a little bit. I mean, back when we had an office, even the first one, which was a tiny office for RX Bar that I was a part of, there's something about it that it's just like impossible to emulate virtually. Like it's
oh my gosh, yeah.
the
Same
hustle
thing
and
at
bustle
Kalo.
and yeah, I'm sure the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You probably have stories from that's like impossible to recreate in the virtual workspace.
Can't.
It's wild. All right. So I know as we're getting lower on time, Cody, the last few questions I love to ask every founder that comes on here, and I'm pumped to hear yours. I know you're gonna have some good ones. The first one is around source of knowledge. So always love to ask if you have any, books, podcasts, articles, anything you've read recently that just really made an impact to you that you'd like to share with the listeners today.
I don't read much business specific books these days. I don't think anybody's short on those though. But I'm a big Adam Grant fan. So any books that he has, I would highly recommend. Think Again is a great one.
I haven't read any of his books. You mentioned him earlier in the podcast and I wrote it down. I'm gonna get some of his stuff. What's your favorite book of his? You said Think Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simon Sinek. I mean, I guess that's a classic,
he's good.
More like leadership style. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. I'll add one of those to the show notes to one of his books. The next one, this is my favorite. What do you use daily to get shit done? So are you a pen and paper guy? I know you have a whiteboard behind you. Do you use some apps? What do you use to just organize your life, get shit done, and hit your goals?
Honestly, Google Calendar. Where would I be without a freaking automated calendar? HubSpot. Big fan of HubSpot. I have the Full Focus Planner.
No way, man.
By Michael Hyatt.
I got the same one on I have a couple over here. They're all around.
The
old ones.
It's turned into I just write random stuff on there that I need to get done. I haven't really used like the daily big 3 and tasks in a while, so I don't really use the structure much anymore.
Okay. Did you at one point?
I did.
You're the first person who I've ever interviewed who's mentioned that, and I've been using it for a long time.
Yeah, I used to. I probably could. It would probably help to get back to it. My partner and I used to have like check in on like, hey, what's your big 3 for today? What's your big 3?
Oh.
And we actually do it with our employees. So we've applied that to our employees. They have like a Slack channel called Big 3. They give their big 3 for the week. So we've used it, but now I feel like a fraud because I don't use it myself. So
it's funny you say that. I started using it right when I got my business off the ground, and I always go back to it and saying like I genuinely think no tool is gonna outwork just hustle and working hard and doing something every day. But it like made me visualize what the goal was, and then what's that mean weekly, and then how do you get a little thing done at least once a day to get towards your goal. And I do give it some credit on. I think it helped me get my venture off the ground, and then I've not used it. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where I like kind of use it sort of ish. Yeah. And sometimes I feel a little lost because I have a lot on like Google Sheets that I always blame. There's our business has gotten to a place where there's just so many things going on that I can't use that journal anymore. But I think that's the whole point. The whole point of it was there's so much going on. How do you boil the ocean to what's really important, right? So it's like I feel like a fraud too because I'm like that's the whole point of it is when you're overwhelmed, just write it down and
we'll keep each other accountable. Send me an email with your big 3 tomorrow.
All right, there we go. Deal. We'll check in, Cody. We're gonna keep each other on track. I love that one. The last question and most important question is how can listeners, brands, anyone listening get a hold of you personally? So if they want to follow you on any socials or websites, anything you want to promote, and then how can people get involved with Kynship?
I'll answer both questions with the same answer. Just connect with me on Twitter at Cody_Wittick, and DM me there so we can connect on Twitter. That's probably just the easiest way to connect with my agency too. I can answer any questions, or even if you're not interested in hiring us, happy to be a resource for influencer marketing.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Cody, thanks for the time today, man. Really appreciate it. And hope you have a great rest of your day. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Shane.